Hello, my name is Christian Rodriguez, and this is my Unit 4, Chapter 5 Reflection presentation. In this presentation, I'll be going over the Gestalt principles I learned about in this week's lesson. These principles being proximity, continuity, similarity, and closure. So without further ado, let's begin. To begin, I'll be going over the principle known as proximity. Proximity refers to the idea that our minds will perceive objects that are close together as one group. For example, if you saw a bunch of circles placed in close proximity of each other, you'd say that it was a group of circles. One way you could use this principle in a design layout is by placing a bunch of shapes in close proximity of each other to create the look of one singular shape. One thing to note with this principle is that clumping could occur when it is in use. Clumping occurs when your layout is cluttered due to overuse of objects. This can be avoided so long as you group objects that belong together. These are the examples I chose to use for proximity. The IBM logo uses 8 lines in close proximity of each other to create the shape of the letters I, B, and M. The second example is what looks to be a bunch of circular shapes placed close to each other to create the look of one eye. The last one is just an example of how proximity would work. The squares on the left wouldn't be considered a group as opposed to the squares on the right. The ones on the right can be considered a group and even create the look of one single square. The next principle I'll be going over is continuity. Continuity refers to the idea that our eyes will follow objects arranged on a line even beyond the pattern's end. If it's a singular line/curve, our eyes will still follow. This principle creates flow and movement within your layout and can control where the viewer's eyes will go within your layout. These are the examples I chose to use for continuity. The first example uses a curve in the middle of the H to lead the viewer's eye to the leaf symbol. The second example is the Beats logo, which has the B start outside the red circle, but our eyes will still follow this line to create the letter B in Beats. The last example uses the lines in the woman's hair to lead the viewer's eyes throughout the word Wella. The next principle I'll be going over is similarity. Similarity refers to the idea that humans will group things based on how similar they are. These similarities can be based on color, shape, and even size. In typography, you can also notice this principle if the fonts in a layout are similar to each other. This principle allows design layouts to maintain organization and have a feeling of unity within the audience. These are the examples I chose to use for similarity. The first example shows how similarity can work with shape and color. The vertical lines can be considered a group due to them being the same shape. The horizontal lines can be considered a group due to them having the same color. The second example is the Mitsubishi logo using the same rhombus symbols to create the iconic logo for Mitsubishi. The similarity in the rhombuses make them a group. The last example is the PayPal logo, which uses the same method as Mitsubishi. The similar letters are considered to be a group. The last principle I'll be going over is closure. Similar to figure and ground, closure refers to the idea that humans will mentally complete a shape if presented with an incomplete one. In other words, our minds work to subconsciously fill in the gaps. This principle opens up many opportunities for designers to produce visually interesting layouts. It also gives them the chance to experiment with negative and positive space. These are the 3 examples I chose to use for closure. For the first example, you can make out the negative space in the green shapes and perceive them as head shapes. Even though they are incomplete, you can still make them out. Even the same can be applied about the green shapes, creating hair for the head shapes. In the second example, the movie poster for The Black Swan plays around with negative and positive space. You can make out the swan shape pretty easily, but the head shape not so much. Thankfully, the Gestalt principle helps us complete the shape of the woman's head and perceive it properly. The last example does the same as the Black Swan poster. The left side creates that half of the woman's head easily, while we subconsciously complete the rest of the head shape. This has been my Unit 4, Chapter 5 reflection. These are my works cited. Thank you for watching.